Hello, are you one of hundreds of thousands of people in England, Scotland and Wales eligible for a discount on your council tax, but not getting it? If you are, not only could this mean that your council tax is lowered substantially going forward, you could be due a backdated payout from when you were eligible that may be worth thousands of pounds. I'm Martin Lewis of MoneySavingExpert.com, and I want to run you through the big picture of how this works. Now, the place to start here is to understand how they decide how much you pay on council tax. It isn't just about the value of your house. It's also about who lives in it. So, the first thing is, if there are two or more qualifying adults, and this is all going to be about what counts as a qualifying adult, not everybody does. If there are two or more qualifying adults in the house, you pay the full council tax. If there's only one qualifying adult in the house, living with other people who aren't qualifying adults, then you get the single person 25% discount. If there are no qualifying adults, now that isn't the same as an occupied. For example, an all-student household does not pay council tax. You should not be paying anything as long as they're all full-time students. In some circumstances, depending on what type of non-qualifying adult you are, you might only be eligible for a 50% discount, but we'll get onto that later. You get the point. Two or more, you pay the full amount. Only one qualifying adult, it's 25% off. No qualifying adults, in most cases, the household doesn't pay. So the big question, who isn't a qualifying adult? Well, the first one, the obvious one, under 18s. If you're age 17 years old or younger, you're not a qualifying adult. You don't count towards the numbers for council tax purposes. The next category is full-time students. The definition of that is if you're on a course lasting at least 1 year and you do 21 hours a week of study. Now, some of you might be saying, I'm on a full-time course, but I've only got 4 hours of lectures and 4 hours of classes. That's only 8 hours. Do I not count? Well, look, if you're on a proper full-time course, then the expectation is you'll do more self-study hours if you're on one of those courses like the one I was on, where you don't have that many lectures and classes and university social scientists possibly, and therefore you do still count as a full-time student. Student nurses can also claim this, and in some cases, part-time student nurses, some councils will say they're not a qualifying adult either, so they don't count, and a few people on apprenticeships. The next category, and I'll run through in a moment how the interrelations work, but the next important category is what's called somebody with a severe mental impairment. Now, this affects people with severe dementia, Alzheimer's, severe strokes. I've just got a £10,000 backdated success thank you in from somebody who has multiple sclerosis, even people with severe Parkinson's. So a whole range of conditions could apply for what's called the severe mental impairment, let's call it SMI because it's a horrible term, SMI discount. Now, there are two things that you must pass, two eligibility tests you must pass to get the SMI discount, or in this case, it's probably somebody you know that you're helping. The first is that you must be medically certified by a doctor that you have a severe impairment of intelligence and social functioning that appears to be permanent. Plus, you also need to be receiving a qualifying benefit, although in Scotland, it's eligible for a qualifying benefit even if you're not receiving it. Now, that includes many means-tested benefits, but also many non-means-tested benefits that are common for people with disabilities. So it's quite a long list there, but it's complicated. So if you're looking at claiming the SMI discount, and this is where we get many of the big backdated payouts, please read the full step-by-step guide that we have on Money Saving Expert. Just go onto the site or search SMI MSE, and hopefully that'll come up on your search engine. Another category that doesn't count as a qualifying adult is a Ukrainian refugee, just to explain how it works. So let's just picture this. Imagine you've got two full-time students in a house or two people with an SMI, and they don't pay anything at all, or one full-time student with someone with an SMI. Now, just to go through it, somebody moves in with the two full-time students. So you've got one qualifying adult. How many people are in the household? These two don't count. One person in the household, therefore you get the 25% off single person reduction as a house. As for exactly who's liable, well, it's generally the person who isn't the student, but you're going to have to discuss among yourselves how you share that bill, because if this person lived with other non-students, their bill would be smaller. And if the students lived with other students, their bill would be smaller. So there's a whole what's fair system. But we won't go into that now. Now imagine that if somebody else moves into the house, 2 qualifying adults and 2 students, the house pays full council tax. In fact, if there were 9 full-time students in the house and there were 2 qualifying adults, you still pay full council tax. That's the way that it works. There is one other hybrid category out there, which is quite common, which is if someone with an SMI is living with an adult carer, the adult carer is disregarded for council tax purposes, but in this case, the discount is only 50%, not the full 100%, so the household would still pay a bill. It gets a little bit confusing. On the full How Are You Eligible guide on Money Saving Expert, we go through lots of different iterations of how this works. But hopefully you've got the main principles. Under 18s, full-time students, people with severe mental impairment, Ukrainian refugees are some of the main categories. There are a few other minor categories out there of people who don't count as a qualifying adult. That isn't the end, by the way, of council tax discounts. I'm not going to give you an exhausted run through here. There's guides on the site. I just wanted to give you a heads up on the main discounts that people may be missing, single person discount being a big one. You could, for example, if you've adapted your home because you have disabilities, you might be able to get your council tax lowered a band. If you're on benefits or a low income, speak to your local council. You might be eligible for a council tax discount through that. Similar if you're on pension credit, that underclaimed benefit for people on pensions on very low incomes, that is a gateway to lots of other discounts like this one. And the final thing to say, and I've been going on about this since 2007, so I won't do too much here, but back then I came up with my check and challenge system because up to 400,000 people, especially in England and Scotland, are in the wrong council tax band, many of them in too high a band, and you may be able to get your band lowered and a backdated payout. So for that, it's a step-by-step process. Go and read the Check and Challenge Your Council Tax Band guide that I wrote all those years ago, and the team now update that's on Money Saving Expert, and hopefully you'll save there too. Do let me know if any of this has helped you and you found it interesting. If you haven't found it interesting, sorry. Take care, bye.